You know that feeling when your brain won't be quiet because you're trying to manage how you're being seen. You replay a conversation like it's a courtroom case. You rewrite a text 3 times. You walk into a room and half of your attention goes to the room and the other half goes to your invisible performance review. And it's exhausting because you're not even living anymore. You're auditioning for approval, for safety, for please don't judge me, for please pick me, for please confirm I'm doing life correctly. And look, caring isn't the enemy. Caring about your values, beautiful. Caring about people you love, necessary. Caring about your purpose. That's what makes you human. The problem is when caring turns into this constant tight grip on things you can't actually control. Opinions, outcomes, timing, other people's moods, whether you look good enough, whether you said the right thing. Caring becomes a cage when your worth is measured by reactions outside your chest. And then life feels like a treadmill. You're running hard, sweating, trying, and somehow not getting anywhere. Here's a weird truth most people don't want to hear. A lot of pressure isn't real. It feels real because the nervous system believes it is. But it's still a story, a rule you inherited, a standard you didn't choose, a fear that got planted so early you don't even remember the first day it moved in. You've been trained to believe control equals security, and if you loosen your grip, everything falls apart. So you grip harder, you plan harder, you worry harder, you overthink harder. Like squeezing the steering wheel tighter will stop the road from having curves. Yet the moment you stop trying to be perfect, something softens. Flaws stop feeling like crimes and start feeling human. The moment you stop chasing validation, you start hearing your own voice again. The moment you stop trying to control everything, life has room to breathe. And here comes the paradox, quiet but undeniable. The less you care about proving yourself, the more powerful you become. Not in a loud ego way, in a grounded way. Like someone who finally remembers they don't need permission to be themselves. Picture waking up one morning and realizing the weight you've been carrying was mostly made of air. Heavy air, sure. Convincing air. But still, air. So many worries aren't problems. They're imagined disasters, mental rehearsals, little movies your mind produces to feel prepared. And you know what? Most of those movies never even get released. They just loop in your head like a trailer that keeps playing because you can't find the remote. People are naturally anxious, not because they're broken, because they're human. The mind tries to predict. It tries to prevent pain. It tries to get ahead of the unknown. So it overthinks. It monitors. It scans faces. It reads between lines that aren't even there. And somewhere in the middle of all that, you start confusing thinking about life with living life. You start believing peace is something you earn after you solve every possible problem. Except there will always be another problem, always another thing to manage, another person to impress, another outcome to worry about. So the finish line keeps moving and you keep running. Here's one of the most freeing realizations you can have. Not everyone will understand you, and that's okay. Seriously, some people won't get you no matter how carefully you explain. Some people will misinterpret you because they're looking at you through their own wounds. And if you try to win every mind, you lose your own. A lot of suffering comes from caring too much about things that don't serve you. Petty fears, old grudges, little insecurities that add nothing but noise. Step back, and it's almost comical how much energy gets spent on things that won't matter in 5 years, sometimes even 5 weeks. And you've probably seen this in real time. The moment you stop obsessing over a problem, a solution shows up. Not because the universe is playing games, but because your mind finally relaxes enough to see what was always there. Or you stop chasing someone's attention, and suddenly they lean in. Again, paradox. When you cling, things slip. When you loosen, life flows. Not caring doesn't mean you become cold or lazy. It means you stop feeding the wrong fires. You take your energy back from the things that drain you and put it into what actually matters. So imagine living with a different posture inside. Less clenched fist, more open hand. Not whatever, I don't care, but I care about what's real. You still show up. You still try. You still build. You just stop acting like your life depends on being liked, being perfect, or controlling every outcome. And in that space, right there, confidence starts to grow, not the loud kind, the quiet kind that doesn't need applause to feel steady. Here's where it gets really interesting, because detachment sounds like isolation, but it often creates deeper connection. Counterintuitive, right? Most people think holding tightly is love. They think worrying is caring. They think control is protection. But in relationships, control usually isn't love. It's fear wearing a mask. Fear of losing, fear of being left, fear of not being enough. So you grip, you monitor, you expect, you silently demand, and then you wonder why connection feels heavy. Notice how many conflicts come from unmet expectations. Not even big dramatic things, little ones. You should have texted sooner. You should have understood without me saying it. You should have acted differently so I could feel okay. And it makes sense. Everyone wants to feel secure, but trying to control other people to feel secure is like trying to hold water in your hands. Squeeze harder and it slips faster. Open your palm and it rests there for a moment. That's the strange wisdom life keeps teaching, over and over, until you finally accept it. Real connection comes from acceptance. Let people be who they are, and you finally get to see who they actually are. Stop trying to force others into your expectations, and relationships become lighter, more honest, more real. People who don't suffocate others with demands often receive more love, respect, and admiration, not because they're playing a strategy, but because their energy is calm. They don't need constant reassurance. They don't make every moment a test. They're not begging life to behave. They're walking through it with this quiet internal stability. There's an old kind of wisdom, almost ancient, that says peace isn't found outside of you, not in approval, not in praise, not in being understood by everyone. Peace is something you cultivate like a fire in your own home, and once that fire is lit, other people's weather doesn't control your temperature anymore. Criticism doesn't crush you. Uncertainty doesn't paralyze you. You can love people without trying to cage them. You can appreciate them without needing them to be your proof of worth. And that changes everything, not just relationships, but decisions, opportunities, even the way you carry yourself in a room. So ask yourself something real, not abstract. How much emotional energy is spent reacting to other people's opinions? How many days have been donated to someone else's mood? How many nights have been wasted on replaying a moment that served no purpose except punishment? Letting go isn't withdrawing from life. It's finally engaging with life without the extra weight. Caring deeply about your values, your purpose, your inner peace, while releasing the things that drain you and don't deserve your attention. That balance is where freedom lives. Fear is usually what keeps the grip tight. Fear of the unknown, fear of failure, fear that if you stop micromanaging your life, it'll collapse. Society taught you that looseness equals danger, yet the truth is almost the opposite. When you stop caring about the things that don't truly matter, life starts organizing itself. Clarity returns, timing improves, decisions get simpler because they're finally yours. And those magical moments people talk about, love, inspiration, creativity, unexpected opportunities, often arrive when you stop chasing them like a starving person chasing crumbs. So here's the invitation, and it's not complicated. Choose one thing today to release, one expectation, one obsession, one need for approval, one habit of over-explaining, one pattern of trying to control what you can't control. Hold life with an open hand, not because you're giving up, because you're finally trusting. And watch what happens when your energy stops leaking into the wrong places. Because the moment you stop caring about the wrong things, the right things find their way to you.